Good afternoon everyone, it's Kay here from sunny Taunton with Series 2, Episode 7 of Cards for Occasions. We've dealt with a lot of very special occasions: Easter, Mother's Day, springtime, birth of babies, weddings, and today we're dealing with congratulations on your wedding day. Cards that I think everybody would send at some point in their life to friends or family members. So in front of me are some things supplied by Handy Hippos Crafts online web store, and there is a nice array of things here to make the projects that I'm going to show you today come to life. There's this beautiful memory box wedding cake designer die, which has been an absolute joy to work with. I'll take it out so that you can see it in all its glory. It's several components. They are all affixed when you open up the packet, but you do need to separate them for obvious reasons. And then try, because it's tiny little bits of metal that anchor them all together, do try and get rid of the sharp edges, because they really are frightfully sharp. It's very easily done. A little file or some such will actually take off your, I don't know if you can see on the edge there are a couple of little bits there that we need to work on, but essentially you've got a 3-tiered cake and 3 decorations for the cake, which cut out beautifully. There are no issues there at all. They cut, and the design work on them is very evident once you've used it or put it through your die machine. So that is that one, which I'm delightful to now add to my own personal stash. It really is a joy to work with. Some acetate, which again I've used in the past, heat resistant and anti-static, which is great news for people that like to work with acetate. These lovely gems, one of which I've used already and I'll show you shortly, and this beautiful glitter card stock, which has been an absolute pleasure to work with. I did introduce it a few weeks back, but it really is excellent quality. No issues with die cutting or anything like that. It just does what it's supposed to do. It doesn't crack, it doesn't crackle, it doesn't shed any of the glitter on your project where you wouldn't want it to be. It's an absolute delight, as I've said. So I'll put these things out of the way and show you 2 cards that I've come up with using the designer team package. The first one is this one, which I'm really quite pleased with. I've not put any sentiment on it at all, because in actuality it could be for the wedding day or a congratulatory card. It really would be up to you how you presented it. I've just cut out an oval, put some lace behind the oval, cut out the die. As you can see, this is a double layer of the decoration that just sets up the swirl on the cake. I've then put a little bit of lace over 2 aspects of the tiered cake, used flat back pearls just to bring it into the fore again. 3 little roses. This would be a very, very traditional congratulations on your wedding day card, I think. And then on the top I've used one of the little jar gems from the pack I was sent, and I think all in all, having embossed the card that I used with this very elegant Doris swirl embossing folder, which also can be found on Handy Hippo. They do a lot of the Doris embossings there. I think you'll agree it's quite a tasteful, elegant card. Not overdone, not overstated. As I've said before, I'm quite a traditionalist, but I know there are a lot like me out there. So that is the first card that I put together. The second card is the card that I'm going to show you today, which is a little bit special, using the acetate, and it's called a stepper card for those of you perhaps who haven't used them or made them before. And as you can see, it's quite detailed in its way. If I show you from the side, I've used the acetate just to keep everything together, but you've got 2 little mountains within one side of the card, and on the other side of the card just the tent aspect. But what happens when you close it down is that it is quite a nice card to send through the post. You don't have to worry about it costing the earth to go where you want it to go if you can't deliver by hand. I've used the glitter card on the back, which I'm hoping the light is allowing you to see in the green. One little flower in the valley here, and that again is just to put something on that blank area. Obviously this is my display. If you wanted to put more there, butterflies, hearts, whatever you felt was appropriate. The time to do it is as you're putting the card together. To hide the acetate join onto the base of the card, I've just used double-sided tape. These tags will actually come out, so you can, if you want to, put a little sentiment on the back that doesn't have to be seen by everyone. Again, with a couple of hearts using the glitter card. Unfortunately, you're not seeing how pretty it is, and it really is delightful. I can't get it into a light, I think, where the glitter would actually show up, but that then slots into that little place there, and it's very clearly a congratulations on your wedding day card. And this is the card that I'm going to go through with you today, just to show you how it all comes together. So I'll leave that there in the hope that you'll be able to see what I'm doing as we go along. And I've obviously, for the sake of the video and time, had to prepare quite a bit of the stuff before we actually get started on making the card. So if you can bear with me, that would be great. I've used just one A4 sheet of card. I've used a hammer card, which I've scored in half, and that gives you the C5 view. We're doing it in the portrait view, not the landscape, so the card is opening this way. Portrait landscape, which we've gone through before, and I am now, with the seam toward me, going to mark up my card to get the stepper aspect sorted out. So I'm going to measure 4 3/4 and mark my card there, and from that mark I'm going to go down to 3 1/4, roughly speaking, and make a mark there. Now if you are good, you can put this on your cutting machine, or you know, whatever you use, and just cut through. I'm using a craft blade because I'm safer with one of those, and you cut using a metal ruler, obviously, because you do not want to cut through plastic or anything of that nature, and you make sure that you cut through both levels of the card, so you're left with that scenario. Alright, having done that, it's about folding, and we're going to take this side bit that we've cut and take it down to the original card edge and burnish quite firmly, and then turn it over and fold it back the other way so that the fibres in your card are nicely split to allow them to be malleable. And then you see what I'm doing. From the peaked tent bit, I'm taking this side panel and turning it into a valley fold. So when it's all said and done, you've got your tall stepper to put your decoration on, and then this shallower side which represents the twin peaks here. If you burnish them, again, it doesn't matter that you've cut through a little bit deeper, it stops your card from ripping and gives you a little bit extra manoeuvrability. I'm just burnishing those creases now because I do want them to be sharp, and then we go on to actually making up the card. Now I'll put that to the side because we're going to work on the front embellishment, and I've cut out an oval from the glorious glitter card. I do wish you could see how pretty it is, but it's not to be. I've got the components of the cake, and I'm just wrapping them gently around my thumb to give them a little bit of dimension. We don't want them to be absolutely flat because it takes away the interest. And here's the little top bit. I thought I'd lost it then for a moment. You'll see I've pre-made tags in the flower, and even the top one you curl a little. You then get your double-sided foam tape and just pop, or dimensions, whatever you prefer, you just pop those on the lower aspect of the cake at the base on the second tier. Peel off the sticky backing, needless to say. And when you look at the die, you see there's like a half, I don't know if it's not being picked up, but there is a mark which denotes the top rim of the cake, and that is where you need to apply your second tier. I don't know if it shows you on the picture. Yeah, if you look on the picture here, this line is actually quite evident on the die cut, and if you measure up and just slot the second and third tier of the cake a little bit back from that lip edge, which is clearly defined on the die, it just does give you that tiered effect on your card. Another dimensional on the top part, and there are, oh, put it on the wrong end, there are the 3 layers of the cake. Not quite looking good enough to eat, but you know, you can see where this is going, and that little bit of curvature does just bring the cake alive. I'm then going with my glue to decorate the base, and I've cut out 2 layers of each of these little swirly bits because I do quite like them, and you place these very, very carefully onto the bottom edge of your cake, like so. They are a little bit malleable, so you don't have to have them hanging over, and if you do move them into the centers and edges of the cake, it does give them a little bit of a lift. So that's the white side. I'm now going to put on my glitter edge, and again I'm making that a double layer because I think it looks rather pretty, and it just marries up the colours that have gone before. Again on the second tier, the white, and you've got an embossed edge or a flatter edge. It's up to you which edge you choose to use for the outside of your cake. I like the smoother edge. One is smooth and one is obviously the embossed side, which I would show you, but it's not going to pick up on the camera, so you just have to take my word for it, I'm afraid. And then a little bit of the green here again, and that, oh, wrong one, that one then has to slot in underneath the first layer a little bit, because you don't have the depth in the cake to do a second layer as you did on the first one. But you see it's coming together really, really prettily. The white on the top, and then the green I just slotted underneath again, so that that green just gently wends its way up through the cake and adds extra dimension to the cake. Then it would be up to you whether you wanted to put a little top knot on the top or not. It's entirely a choice, but I think these little swirly bits show quite nicely a delicate decoration to the cake. Obviously I'm working quite quickly, so you know, you would take a lot more time than I am currently with your project, but hopefully you're getting the look of how this all fits together. Then I put dimensionals on the back of the cake, just down through the centre really, because we want not for these to be seen clearly, and you also don't want to spoil the edge that you've curled to make the cake look a little bit dimensional and 3D. I peel the back off these, like so, and then in the oval that's been pre-cut, just place your card. I think, you know, because I'm not giving you much in the way of sizing direction, the oval is five and 3/4 high of an inch and 3 3/4 wide, so that shows you the die is actually quite sizable, and you would need obviously to cut an oval that accommodated that size. So we then go back to our card, and this fits beautifully onto here. I'm going to use my art glue again for all the right reasons. It dries quickly, it's reliable, dries clear, so you don't have any worries in using it for this kind of project, because the last thing you would want are fingerprints or anything like that spoiling your work. At this stage you can then decorate this valley fold in pretty much the same way. I'm gluing, popping the little embellishment on that back fold and just holding it for a moment. If I show you there, hopefully you can see. Just holding it still while it's all sitting there waiting to come together. Then you close this and you get your double-sided tape, the narrow one, when I can find it. Oh no, I've already put it onto, oh no I haven't, I thought I'd already done that. Okay, I've primed the acetate but I haven't primed the card, and all you're going to do is put one length of the double-sided tape across the bottom of the card like so, and this is to anchor your acetate on the front and again on the back. Needless to say, you'd make sure all your components were dry on the front so that it all stayed where you wanted it to be. Before I placed the acetate, what I've done, is put another layer of the double-sided tape onto both edges of the acetate, and I'll show you why very, very shortly. I always start in the front when I'm using acetate. If it goes a little bit adrift and it's at the back, it's not going to be quite as evident. So peel off your double-sided tape. I'm going to stand up for this bit because it really does need to be lined up very, very well. And I'm bringing and introducing my acetate to the base of the card. Having got that little bit of tape on the card as well highlights the edge that I need to marry up. I'm just going to crease that along and try very hard not to make it distort the bottom card, which I think I've probably managed to do with this double-sided tape there is a little bit of leeway. If you use a very strong tape, you won't be as fortunate. But that's that side on, and the same on the other side at the edge. Marry up the two as best as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, that's what the ribbon is about. And there is your acetate coverall, we'll call it. And that just sits there nicely like that. Then I've got some ribbon to hide these workings, which is very, very important. You can use ribbon, you can use lace, you can use whatever pleases you. Put that along the edge, overlap by all means, because it's easy then just to wrap that around the base of the card for tidiness, and it just gives it a more professional look. Any edges at the bottom you can trim off if you need to, and I do. I'll leave them there for the moment. So that goes like that. Same on the other side. And what I do is use another bit of double-sided tape just inside the card to anchor these little flaps down, and that manages that quite nicely. They just go in there and disappear and nobody's any the wiser. But that essentially is the card. And then I've made these two tags with "Enjoy your special day" and "Warmest congratulations" and "Best wishes for the future." These will actually just sit nicely inside the card by way of a sentiment. I'll just put them where I want them to be, and they're not actually going to come out of there. They sit within the lower edge of the card. I just trim, no, I'll just put the double-sided tape to tidy it up so that you can see it finished. But that essentially is your congratulations on your wedding day card in the shape of a stepper card, which I hope you found quite helpful. The acetate isn't an essential, obviously, but with it being a special day and a special occasion, it's always nice to go that little extra distance. I'll just leave that there at the back for the couple's special day. So I hope you found that helpful. Again, watch out for the menu item which Edie Jane Clark will be putting onto this video on the Handy Hippo site, and there will only be 3 more episodes now before the draw is made for a £20 voucher for the Handy Hippo website to be spent there. So I hope you found this informative. I hope you've enjoyed. Obviously you would take a lot more time and care than I have, but for the purposes of the video, it does need to be done quite quickly, otherwise the videos don't load very effectively. Thanks again for watching. See you next week. Take care everyone. Bye bye.